From sunny Southern California, we bring you Meet Bridget.
Bring it on, baby.
Well, Heather Altman, I am so excited to have you sitting down with us for Meet Bridget. We are neighbors, which is so fun to see our kids walking down the same street. But most other people know you from $1 Million Listing LA and your leadership on the Altman Brothers team.
Yeah.
I want to dive right in because you have a very busy life, and I'm sure people are so curious about what the day-to-day looks like for you. Can you share I know people know you were on the show for over a decade, and obviously you're involved in real estate, but what does your realistic day-to-day look like right now?
Oh my gosh, it is a whirlwind every day. I run around like a chicken with my head cut off, but somehow get it done. Life has changed significantly since having kids, and going from one child to two children just really, it's just a lot, trying to give yourself to everyone and doing everything and wanting to be a great mom and wanting to be a great business person and do everything for your clients and then have a husband and, your social life. It's just hard to keep it all up. So it's just a constant battle to figure out the balance, and no day is perfect, but you grin and make it work. But I start off waking up at like 5:30 if I'm lucky, if my son doesn't wake me up by 4:45.
There's always that variable, right? I'm like, unless somebody comes to my bed in the middle of the night or just shows up randomly, and then it's scratch that plan.
Yeah, exactly. That definitely can throw a wrench. My son's an early riser. He'll wake up at 4:45 some days, but I finally got him trained to just turn on the TV and he knows what he can watch. He loves to watch documentaries, which is super cute. So
it's adorable.
But get up, shower, do a little stretching if I can, and start the kids' breakfast and lunch, which is a mad dash of morning routine, trying to get two kids to school and all the things and the little meltdowns that happen in the morning because the sock won't go on right, or they didn't get as many chocolate chips as their sister did in their waffles. But I love the mornings because that's like my real time with the kids where we're having conversation. I'm making them their nutritious breakfast. I love to make these protein waffles from scratch in the morning for them.
Recipe.
So yes, I have to share it. Okay. It's the best. It's so good. Oh, I definitely. Right? And I will make so many over the course of 3 to 4 days, freeze them for the kids because they love them. And it makes me feel so good that I finally can make something that they love.
With nutrients in it too.
Exactly. And then, we pop them in the car, either me or Josh or my nanny, if I have a nanny that morning to help out, because you just never know what we have going on. Mm-hmm. Takes them to school, but we love doing a family car ride to school if we have the availability to do it. We love to play an array of music. My daughter loves Morgan Wallen.
Love it.
And she's 8. And we got her concert tickets for Hanukkah. So we're all going to Morgan Wallen.
So fun.
And my son's now into it. And so we all sing songs. And then we switch over to our pump up music. Ace loves Tiesto. Let's get down to business. And so we're like fist pumping in the car. You got to have that
time already.
Oh yeah, definitely. So you got to get the good vibes out there and ready for the day and go in with positivity and excitement. I forgot to tell you, I play reggae music in the morning at our house because it's like just a good vibe,
Yeah.
It's just like putting good vibes
say
out there.
What was the other one I heard? Like bossa nova. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yes. It's like a little swanky. It's a little, it's relaxed.
I think jazz music is a little too sophisticated for the kids. Yeah. So like reggae, it's just like soft and chill, happy. And then we switch into Tiesto by the time we get to drop off.
We cover all the bases by the time and then it's like, have a good day at school.
Yeah, completely. And then as soon as kids get out, it's just running calls after calls, checking in with the office. We do our group Monday morning meetings, over the phone, checking in on listings and escrows and what offers are out, what schedules we have to set up for different buyers. And then it's just a mad dash. At any moment, a call or a text can change the course of my entire day because a seller calls and they're like, hey, I want to list my house. Are you available in an hour? And you're like, oh, shit. Okay, I was going to go to the office and finally get to that contract that I needed to look at, or I was going to finally get a gym session in, but
like
priority takes
totally
over.
Different.
Exactly.
I think that is such a good point that you're making, and something I think really interesting for anyone that might be interested in real estate, but also wants to have a family. Mm-hmm. How do you manage, because that's something that I think is stressful for any moms. Like, your kids already are a variable. Yes. You might drop them off at school, and then an hour later, they're like, oh, they threw up. You got to come pick them up. And you could be in the middle of a business meeting. You could be anywhere. But also, when you're in real estate, it's like your clients are sort of like your children in that way too. Like, if something changes, or there's an issue in one of the houses, or someone wants a different showing, or something's locked, or you have to, there's always all these variables. Yes. How do you balance kind of having both be wild cards?
It's really interesting. And it's funny that you say that, because everyone thinks like, oh, I'll get into real estate, I can make my own schedule.
Yeah, that it's free.
Like, no, my schedule, real estate runs my life, and I have to make my life work around real estate and now children. So it's definitely a balance. Thankfully, I'm very lucky that my mom lives 10 blocks away from us. And so she is a saving grace and has been around since my daughter was born. I kind of blackmailed her into moving in with us for 6 years, and now she just lives down the street. But without that, I don't know what I would do, because something has to give. And my career is so important to me. Our business is so important, but my children obviously take priority. So it's like, okay, if I didn't have my mom to call on in the event that I can't go pick them up from school, like my daughter broke her arm in December at school, and the school calls me. I'm in LA and I am walking into a business meeting, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me 2 hours to get back. She might have a broken arm. What am I going to do? I felt so awful, but I have my mom, so I could call on her. But anyone else, I know it's hard if you don't have family or people that you trust around you. You definitely just have to wing it and make it work. I've had my kids come to showings with me. When I first had Lexi, a week later, I was showing houses, breastfeeding in the back seat, and then running out to show houses. It was just, you just make it work. But at the end of the day, you have to love what you do. Yeah. And I have always enjoyed being 24/7, and I really am fulfilled by what I do. I love helping people find their dream home, sell their home to move on to that next chapter of their life, whatever it may be. And so that's very fulfilling. And my kids see that I'm happy when I'm working. So is there mom guilt a lot of times when I wasn't able to go to the play dates where the other moms were at and I wasn't there? Yes, but you like I said, the balancing act is not perfect, and something always has to give a little bit, but you just live in the moment and try to make it work.
People are always talking about how when the mom is happy and centered, whatever that looks like, the rest of the house kind of follows suit. Completely. So it's whatever that takes for you. And I think I've read in an interview that you've mentioned before is that kind of always on mentality, and how that's always been something that is you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how, where did you think that started from, if you can remember?
Yeah, definitely. My parents, both my mom and my dad were working people. They came from nothing. We had a very humble beginning. My parents were from Oregon. They dated in high school in Oregon, and then they both relocated to Las Vegas separately. And then they reconnected when they were in Vegas. And my dad was in construction. My mom was a waitress, and they, lo and behold, got pregnant with me, got married, and my parents really worked, 7 days a week, just trying to get money together, pay bills, and just make it all come together. We lived in a little travel trailer. My dad was in rock crushing. And they grinded, and they didn't take vacations. They were amazing parents, but they really showed me work ethic and the value of money. And so without them, I wouldn't be the person I am. I do struggle with turning off from work, and that's been a really hard thing to do up until recently, where I had a big aha moment. Our son had a big surgery. And when we found out he was having this big surgery, Josh and I, it was like a light bulb went off, and we're like, life is too short. We need to spend more time with the kids. We're allowed to say no to clients. We're allowed to say no in general. Like our family is first, and it was always first, but making sure that we had more of that quality time, like dinner time, turn the phones off. You don't have to always be on.
Yeah.
But it takes a moment to get there. And we're finally at a point with our success where we can say no. Because if we lose that client, we weren't meant to work with you. I'm not at that point in my life anymore.
Right.
So
I think that's an important thing to distinguish too, that it might be easy for someone really successful to be like boundaries and you got to do these things. But when you're in the beginning, like it does sometimes take that hustle and the ability to just show up at the drop of a hat whenever a client needs you to build your business, but then to sustain the business later, once you found success, that's when you're kind of putting in these little bumpers and things to help you just continue to function.
Correct. Definitely. I started real estate when I was 17 years old in Vegas. I couldn't sell until I was 18. I was actually supposed to take over my parents' business, which was credit card processing. And so I'd been working for my family since I was 13. Again, just my parents always instilled, a work value. You're not going to get it unless you work for it and you earned it. So I was planning on taking over my mom's position so she can kind of semi-retire. And then lo and behold, they decided to go and retire in Florida. And I was like, what am I going to do? They sold the business. And my mom and I love to drive around and look at all the new home developments in Vegas on the weekends because it's just constantly constant construction and there's always new homes being built. And so we love doing that together. And my parents were like, why don't you get your real estate license and start selling? And I was like, oh, sounds great. I can go be one of the girls that's in the cute housing communities, making fresh baked cookies, touring you around, and people just buy houses and it's that easy. It was a little bit of the dream for a minute when I got my license when I was 18 and was actually able to sell, but that wasn't the reality of it. I actually went into real estate sales, like I'm in now, not the new home community. And I was sitting open houses. I looked like I was 13 years old. I wore fake glasses. I wore a fake engagement ring. And I mean, I had no business selling houses. I didn't even have a credit card in my name. I've never even gotten a loan in my name. And they're allowing someone to help another person buy the biggest asset of their life. And it was crazy, but I was working 7 days a week and all my other friends are 18, just got out of high school, partying, going and playing beer pong. And
I'm in Vegas at the time.
Yeah, right? I'm in Vegas at the time. And, they're going to the Strip and they're going and getting, going to the pool at Hard Rock Hotel. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to show houses or I have an open house. They're like, you're boring. When did you become so old? But I knew, it had to be 24/7 and it wasn't going to be handed to me. So it's always been in me, but it's because of my parents,
Can you tell us a little bit about, when you started in the real estate industry, you were in Vegas, houses were moving at the time.
Yes.
But the economy changed while you were in the business in Vegas. Can you tell us about that point in your life?
Yes. So when I got in, this is when houses were selling 20% over asking, sight unseen. There was lines out the door at these houses. As soon as they went on, you'd have 15 people like fighting to get in. It was back in the day. This is a long time ago, over 20 years ago. You have the paper contracts where you had the white copy, the yellow copy, and the pink copy, and it's the carbon copies that you're writing on. And I remember writing my first offer in the back of my trunk, and I just learned how to write an offer the day before. And it was an older couple and I panicked, but I had to write the offer on the spot. So I'm cheating off my fake offer that I just wrote in my real estate class the day before, copying
your textbook, like open.
Oh my gosh. I'm like blacking out because I'm so nervous that they're going to see that I don't know what I'm doing. Got it done, sold them the house, and life was good. I mean, money was coming in. And of course, I was an 18-year-old kid. So I was sell a couple houses, then go to San Diego for a month, burn my money, and then come back and, do it again. And finally got this rhythm of, okay, I'm a business person. I'm running a business. Let's, be smarter. But in the beginning, there was just so much money coming in. And then all of a sudden, the market just flipped upside down and it was crickets. it was wild. I mean, to see that nothing was moving. I was barely able to pay my rent and my car payment and just live. So I decided to work as the receptionist at the real estate office I was at to try to pick up leads and get a little extra money. But unfortunately, there was no floor calls coming in. People weren't really buying houses still at that time. So then I had to get a job as a Miller Lite girl. And because I could work in the evenings and I could choose my schedule. So I was a Miller Lite girl during the week, trying to convince people to, drink Miller Lite over Bud Light. And it was fun. And I was making $40 an hour plus tips, and it was great. And that was coming in. But I was struggling. I'm like, I don't want to work 3 jobs at one time. I also realized I didn't want to be in Vegas anymore. So I decided if I was going to struggle, I'm going to struggle in California where the beach is free, and I needed a new scenery, new people. I wanted a change. So got up, moved to LA, and I needed a job because it's a lot more expensive in LA than Vegas. I had culture shock when I started looking at apartments and realized I was going to live in a shoebox with no dishwasher, a little like easy bake oven, like literally like a beverage fridge, and an apartment that was like falling down with popcorn ceilings where I just came from brand new, like
everything was new construction.
Yeah, exactly.
In Vegas,
but I got a job with a top real estate agent in Beverly Hills so that I could sustain, my life and just pay rent and have the necessities paid for, but also learn the real estate market in LA because it's completely different than Nevada. And so it was my way to kind of get a taste without, falling on my face and having money come in. And that was a great, great way. She was a great mentor, and then kind of went from there.
So you originally got your license in Vegas. When you moved to California, did you get a California license too?
Yes. Yes.
For a young person that might just be considering getting their license, can you break down what's involved in that? Maybe how the experience was for you and how it was different in different states?
Oh my gosh, it's so long now. Oh, so old now. It's so crazy. When I did my Nevada license, I was still in high school when I took the test. So it was easy. My brain is fresh. I know how to study. Sure. I also didn't have obligations to tend to. So it was easy. When I moved to California, again, I was young. I was 21-ish at the time. But the test is pretty easy. It's just, doing flashcards, but it's a lot of questions. They really try to trick you on it. You just need to I think you just need a GED to get your real estate license, which is really wild. Again, considering you're selling someone's biggest asset. They don't really make it tough. So I think that's why sometimes real estate agents don't have the best name because there's not a lot of education required for it. I can tell you the real estate test has nothing to do with you actually being a real estate agent. I mean, nothing I learned in my real estate school applies to what I do on a day-to-day now. So it's really disappointing. I wish they could change that system. It's old and antiquated, and I don't think they ever will, but it's a lot of math and, just memorization. Exactly. And it varies state to state, and every state's laws vary slightly. There's some reciprocal states where if you have your license in Nevada, they might recognize it in Oregon, but typically you just have to start from scratch every state that you go to.
I think that's a great point that you're making about how the test really doesn't line up with what the skills you actually need to be a realtor. I think some of our audience knows I have my real estate license and have done some deals and stuff, but I was a really academic kid and went to college and got my MBA on, scholarships. And I remember I took the real estate exam, didn't use my license for a little while. And then when I actually started going out and working, I was like, I don't know anything. I'm literally starting from zero. Nothing that I learned on the real estate exam is in my head while I'm trying to do deals. That's a reality for anyone trying to start in real estate. As an employer, what do you look for when you have someone trying to join your team? Obviously, you want someone that has finished their GED because that's required. But what are some qualities that you guys are looking for now that you know the business from both sides?
Yeah. So when we first started to expand the team and bring on other agents, we were really open to having brand new agents because we love the hunger behind new agents and young agents, especially, and the fact that they were available. The challenge is again, we are dealing with multi-million-dollar properties. We deal with extremely high net worth individuals, and there's no room for error. And so having someone that's so green and new coming into the business, it was a lot of hand-holding and me having to oversee all their deals. And it was just too much as we were expanding. So we have changed our requirements. Anyone that comes in now has to have at least 3 to 5 years of experience selling at least 20 million a year, because we just don't have the ability and we can't take the risk that you don't know what you're doing. And, one wrong word in a contract can completely change the meaning of that sentence. And it leaves our clients vulnerable. It leaves us vulnerable. California is full of lawsuits. So that's a big thing for us. However, we also look at people who have connections, what their background is. Maybe they haven't sold a lot. They're coming from a different industry, but they're well connected in a certain neighborhood, and they're going to be able to leverage their relationships, and we can come in and help them with our experience to, open those doors and, sign listings and get buyers for them. But we really just want to see someone that is hungry, humble, excited to be on the team, understands the brand that we've built, and is going to be a reflection of us. Our team is really like a family. We're not looking to be a big, have 100 agents. We're boutique. Quality over quantity is, what we always say. But we want people that we want to hang out with too. Again, like we work very closely with all of our agents, and we spend a lot of time together. And if we're going to open our doors to you, we want to make sure that, it's going to be reciprocated.
Yeah.
So
can you tell us a little bit about the culture within offices, right? I think that as a young agent, you might not realize that there's difference from team to team, like drastic difference, because you're not necessarily just using exactly what you got on the test and it's going to look the same everywhere. What team you're on is going to change the experience completely, how you're learning, how long it takes you to learn something, if you have someone mentoring you, partnering with you. But then there's also competition amongst teams and within teams.
Yes.
Can you talk about the culture of
love it.
competition?
You know it so well.
Yeah.
It's all very good points. I would say when I first got in the business, I went to Prudential because they had great training programs for new agents. So like I mentioned earlier, the contract class, learning how to write a purchase agreement. Not every brokerage offers classes like that. Yeah. So you want to make sure if you are a new agent that you're going to a brokerage that has all those classes, because otherwise you're just thrown out there and you're going to get eaten alive. And without that training, it's almost impossible. I also recommend to young agents and even seasoned agents, having a mentor or joining a team is super important because, having other individuals around you to keep you motivated, it can be a very lonely career, and really difficult. And if you don't have someone to bounce ideas off of or keep you motivated or expose you to the ever-changing market or new ways to pick up clients, just have someone to have those conversations with or overhear them, you're going to fall behind.
Yeah.
And a lot of people choose not to join a team because they don't want to give up their commission, because you have to give commission to your brokerage, and then you have to give commission to your team lead. And so your commission gets dwindled down, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have 50% of something than 0 of 100.
Totally.
So that's our concept that we always explain to everyone. And once you're on a team, you realize how valuable having that brand, the team lead, which cannot be good sometimes, but with us, Josh and I and Matt are always available. We pick up everyone's calls. We have a support staff that also helps all of our agents. We show up to listing appointments. If we can't make it, we'll FaceTime our agents with their client to help solidify that relationship and that listing for them. But not all teams are like that. So you really have to ask those questions.
I think that's such a good piece of advice for someone maybe considering teams or, okay, maybe I just got my license. What do I do now? That when you're going into, say you decide to join a team or a bigger company that has a lot of training, you're not just being interviewed. You should be interviewing them and seeing like, okay, what does this look like for me? I get a listing, how much support do I have in that? If it's my first listing, if it's my 10th listing, and, what does that really break out for me and my future?
Completely.
As you were starting in real estate, at some point, you probably started to feel a little bit more confident. In the beginning, right? It's sort of, even with the training and everything, first, second, third, fourth deal, they're all very new.
Oh, yeah.
When did you start feeling confident, and what do you think contributed to that?
I think knowledge is power. Having that experience is huge. So every single deal, you feel a little bit more confident. You have another sale under your belt. So when you're speaking to clients, you can really speak from your own personal experience. Until then, I really had to fake it and leverage my brokerage's sales as my own and learn how to have that narrative. But like I said, I was 7 days a week. Every single morning, I'd wake up and immediately go on the MLS to see all the new inventory, see what's switched over to pending, what's sold. I would drive my neighborhoods. They're called farms. I did a lot of farming, especially in Vegas. I was a door knocker back in the day. I went after for sale by owners, FSBOs. And, I really enjoyed the challenge of converting a sale and converting someone that I've met at an open house to a client. And it was almost a game for me when I would do that. And that also really created confidence. I'm like, okay, great. I got their number. They told me they were working with someone, but they gave me their number before they left. So, that's a win.
Totally.
And so eventually after just, really understanding the inventory, because I felt confident that I can really truly speak about the market and answer someone's questions when I was showing a house. Oh, what about that house down the street? I saw a sign. Oh yeah, 123 Main Street. That one just came on for 1.5 million, but it doesn't have a pool. That's why this one's better. If you have those facts and you've armed yourself with that information, you're going to feel so confident and no one can take that away from you. And that's on you to, make that knowledge for yourself.
Well, and there's a lot of ways you can get that knowledge. Like you were just saying, where it's like, okay, the MLS, obviously, if you're an agent, like that is an unbelievable resource. Well, that you could spend hours and hours and hours on the MLS every day if you wanted to. And some people do. But door knocking, getting to know your neighbors, starting conversations about like, oh, well, yeah, how long have you lived here? Like, what do you like about even just like understanding neighborhoods like that? You mentioned the term farm, which I feel like is a very real estate specific term. And someone on the outside might be like, what? There's a lot of different ways to market in real estate, right? That some people start with physical farms. You can also have kind of relationship farms and circles, kind of community marketing. Can you tell us a little bit about how you market now and how that maybe has changed as your career has grown?
Yeah. So the way we market now is definitely very different when I got into the business. We've created such a brand for ourselves, now with social media, which didn't exist when I first got into the business. We have over 1 million followers. Pumping out content is huge. And I really don't understand why real estate agents don't utilize their social media more to market themselves as a business, as a professional. You can still post about your family, post about your weekend at the beach or the restaurant that you went to, but you need to also post photos of the houses that you're selling. If you didn't sell a house, at least go post that you were at open houses, doing caravan, or you went and visited a Sunday open, or, your top 5 brand new listings this week, even if they're not your own. You need to show that you're a professional, because websites are almost obsolete at this point. I think you still need one 100%, but if you don't have the money to build out a website, having a social media where you're using it as your website, that's where everyone goes first to Google anyone or look up anyone, is their social media. So we really spend a lot of time and money putting out videos. I'm sure you've seen some of our new recent AI videos. Josh now thinks he's James Cameron. He's the cinematic producer. The latest one is him as Iron Man coming through a house. Those are very expensive productions. But for a normal, everyday agent who is selling the average or just getting in, you can go on ChatGPT and create these videos for nothing, and or they have freelance available where you can pay someone $50 for an hour to create these videos for you. But really, really putting out yourself as a real estate agent and branding yourself there, and then paying for the sponsored and boosted ads. I'm also very old school, and I think it's important to do your postcards. And it's not sending out one postcard for the month and then sending it out again in 3 months. Farming is exactly that. You need to plant your seed, and you don't just plant a seed and water it every couple months. You have to keep putting postcards out at least once a week, so that everyone who's getting the mail, it's not necessarily them seeing, what house or what the information is, but seeing your face and your brand. Because then when they finally decide to sell or go to buy, they're like, oh, what's that? What's that girl that's always sending me the blonde one? Yeah. Oh yeah, honey, that Heather Altman, let me call her. She's been sending us postcards forever. And then, that is very important. And that's Real Estate 101 foundation of the business. Open houses, that's free and easy to pick up clients. So being out in the neighborhoods that you want to sell in, if you don't have a listing personally to sit, call up the office manager and see if anyone has any properties that you can sit. Reach out to the agents on the MLS. Say, I saw that you have this listing. It's been on the market for 300 days. I'm sure you don't want to hold it open. I'd love to hold it open. There's always opportunities. And, you are open for business when you're at an open house. It's people who are actively looking to buy or possibly sell, and they want to see the competition.
And I think the other point is that, like, those relationships, when you're meeting someone, it's not just, oh, maybe I'll sell a house for them. End of conversation.
Yeah.
Most of clients, especially at a higher level, you're building a relationship with them, hopefully for life, right? Like, you do such a good job doing one transaction for them, and then their son is selling a house, or they're buying a vacation home, or, their best friends are going to move, or they want to live on their street, and you're really planting the seed, Think of, like, farming might sound like, oh, I'm just massing people with mail and nobody wants to hear this, but you might be providing a solution for somebody who's actively looking. So you have to be where they're looking at any given point.
Exactly. You have to nurture the relationships.
Definitely. Would you say that you are an extrovert?
No, I'm definitely more of an introvert. When I got into the business, going all the way back to school years, especially high school, I was a very shy, quiet girl. Unless, like, people approached me, like, I wouldn't approach them. Getting into real estate, I really had to get out of my shell. I was very uncomfortable doing the TV show. Oh my gosh, I would die inside. It was like cringeworthy for me, and having to hear my voice. It was really something that I pushed myself to do. And I still have moments where I feel uncomfortable in situations, but it goes back and forth. It depends on the day and the situation. But now I feel like I am an in-between. I wouldn't call myself an introvert or an extrovert. My husband, obviously, we know he's a big personality and he steals the air in the room. But he helps push me to keep that going. But I've had to challenge myself and push my boundaries. And I think that's good to do, though.
Yeah.
Let's
talk a little bit about the show. Speaking of, testing your boundaries, you mentioned to me that, you were working with the show for 17 years.
I filmed for 17 years. Yeah.
That's a journey.
Yeah.
And so much of your life rolling out on camera in front of the world. Can you tell us about, like, those first years and kind of how your relationship with the show developed?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, I was working for a top real estate agent in Beverly Hills, and it was like the devil wears Prada. Yeah. It was very tough. She was great. I learned a lot, but it was a very tough position. I was with her for a little over a year. And then finally I was like, okay, I can't endure this anymore. And I wanted to learn the coastal market. I wanted to go to Malibu and get my feet wet there and really understand the difference between selling hillside houses, Beverly Hills flats houses, and then what it's like to sell, on the beach in Malibu. So I went to work for a gentleman named Madison who happened to be on a TV show at the time that was no longer airing. And I got connected to him and became his assistant. There was no plans for the show to continue. He had filmed 1 or 2 seasons at that point. He was like, they're not going to pick up the show again. I was like, okay, great. So about 6 months into me working for him, the show gets picked up again and they're like, oh, we just need you for some connector scenes. I was like, I don't even have social media.
They see your face and they're like, put this girl.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. But I didn't even have Facebook or anything. I was just that, I was not that person. Right. I did not like photos of myself. I hated listening to my voicemail. And so that really made me come out of my shell and have to be comfortable. And I was really tested. And I was just, a little connecting pieces between the storylines that they couldn't show completely. And slowly my role grew bigger. And then the next season, they fired one of the guys and they brought in a new guy. And the producers were like, oh, wait until you meet this guy. And Madison had met him. And he goes, oh my gosh, he's such a douche. He's so cheesy. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to meet him and see what the new cast member is like. So we did an all cast open house. And I'm standing outside. We're waiting to be let in. And I see him. I was like, oh, he does look like a Jersey Shore guy. That is so funny.
You're like, here he comes.
Yeah. So I walk in and we meet. And 10 minutes later, we like kind of side off and have a conversation. And it is so hard to watch that first time Josh and I ever met. It's so uncomfortable. They definitely made it look a lot more uncomfortable than it was, but it was pretty awkward and uncomfortable. And we were flirting and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, he is kind of cute. Yeah. And then cameras turned off and we're outside and he's like, I'd love to take you out sometime. And, the rest is history essentially with that. And, our entire relationship is on the show. The good, the bad, the ugly, the success, all of it. It was hard at times because people are mean. Yeah. The feedback that I get on social media or in the blogs, that I was not pretty. I look like a dog. Why would she wear that? I mean, it's
crazy.
It's harsh. Yeah. And the public can be really harsh when they're behind a computer. And so I had to grow thick skin. I mean, I already had thick skin from doing real estate because you have to be used to rejection. Yeah. There's lots of rejection in the business. But then when you're rejected on your personal appearance and who you are as a person, that can definitely hurt. But I took a moment. My mom talked to me a lot and she's like, don't worry about what people say. Like, they're nobody. If they saw you on the street, they wouldn't say it to your face. It's just because there's nothing there for them to have to face their reality of being a mean person. So finally got over that. We still had lots of harsh criticism, but I was happy because I was doing what I loved. I knew that I was doing the show because I wanted to stick with it because I saw the business opportunity. It is an infomercial for me being a real estate agent and growing my business, my brand. And so I really thought about what do I want the public to see? And I was aware of what I put out there. I wanted to be a professional person. I wanted to be genuine and authentic, but I wasn't going to be someone who is, letting the producers manipulate me because that's also hard on reality television. I was told to, encouraged to say or do a lot of things that I, ended up not doing because it just didn't feel like me. Right. And I'm happy I did that. But there were a couple moments where I did give in and, it's not the best reflection on who I was at that time, but it's television and you're supposed to give drama if you want another season, you want another episode. Yeah. So it's a boundary, but luckily for us, we filmed a professional show. Yes. Not like The Housewives or some of these other TV shows where it's supposed to be all about the drama. Yeah. So I'm lucky when I look back at that, but I had a great experience. I'm so grateful for the platform that they provided. I have my family because of it. And, our success is definitely partially owed to having the TV show. I mean, we definitely wouldn't have been able to create that platform so quickly without the show.
I think it was a really special $1 million listing. The fact that it was so professional, and there are probably count on one or two hands the number of shows that are reality TV, but are majority professional.
Yes.
I feel like there was drama, but it was more like, okay, agents just kind of giving each other a little shit, which is what it is in the real estate world anywhere, like
could have really showed. Yeah.
Like that is actually not that unrealistic, like everyone within a real estate community, like people know each other. There might be some competition and drama and tiffs and arguments, but at the end of the day, like if you're sticking around in one community, you're going to be doing deals with those people.
Exactly.
And you want to have at least a functioning relationship with other teams and other people so that the deals can happen for the client's best interest. So you can be a fiduciary, right? But yeah, I feel like that show had that unique combination where, it could still be very entertaining, but was taken seriously as like, oh, these are all real agents. How do you feel reality television has kind of changed from the time that you started on it to now? And obviously you guys stepped away from the show. Can you tell us a little bit about that moment?
Yeah. So we were the first original reality television for real estate. And then, a bunch of copycats came out since then, which is great because, it shows that we were successful. That's the best compliment that we can get. The real estate shows that are out there now, it's just for entertainment, purely for entertainment. I think we all know which show I'm talking about in particular. It gives a bad name to real estate agents. I'm all about fashion. I love fashion, but the outfits that some of these women wear, I mean, it looks like they're going clubbing or hookers, unfortunately.
And I would never, my wildest dreams show up to a showing or something, especially as we all know there's a lot of very beautiful women in real estate on TV, off TV, right? But there's, you're meeting with someone, married people, not married people, but you want to have a just professional. The last thing you need as a woman, I think, is
putting out
distraction. You know what I mean?
Sex sells 100%. I definitely get that. I am for it, but there has to be a level of sophistication and class and respect towards the profession and for the client. I think it's given, unfortunately, a lot of younger women the wrong idea of how to dress now in real estate or any other similar type profession. I see some girls wearing crop tops and short skirts, and it's disappointing. It's really disappointing. So I'm hoping that more people kind of see through it, that it's really just supposed to be for entertainment. These women aren't really selling real estate. And I love watching it. Don't get me wrong. I'm definitely a watcher, but I don't support the way that it's turned our industry into kind of like a laughing stock. It's comedy at this point, and we don't act that way. And if we do, those people should have their real estate license taken away. And I hope that people wouldn't want to work with someone like that. Totally. I mean, it's
especially selling, like you said, likely, even if it's one of many houses somebody owns, it's such a huge asset, which has huge implications financially, legally, personally, for everybody involved. And there's a level of professionalism that just has to be there. I had a conversation recently with a friend about professionalism and how not common it's showing up in a lot of people that are making a lot of money doing big business. How do you feel professionalism plays into your role, but also how people should be learning and developing it? Where do you think the best place to practice
it's funny. I think COVID really kind of flipped things. Everything became so much more casual. You're working from home, you're in your pajamas, then athletic wear came in, and then it just became this very lax environment for everyone in any industry. And not having to face people in person every single day, it also created this weird communication structure where you're sitting in your pajamas and at home, and then you're taking a phone call, and that persona kind of comes through on the phone also, and everything just becomes that much more relaxed. And I don't think business needs to be so uptight or anything like that.
A briefcase and
exactly. I mean, it's very different from when I started now. And you change with the times, definitely. And I don't think you need to be suited up every single day to go to work or anything like that. But I do think you need to take yourself serious. I think you need to think of your client at the end of the day, and what you are wearing, the way that you speak, the way you conduct yourself is a reflection on you, your business, but also on your client. And how can they take you serious if you don't take yourself serious? And I think it's important to have that level of professionalism, and you need to create boundaries within yourself, and create expectations for yourself to show up, as a business professional. And that's it's very different now, and trying to get back into that path.
Yeah. Going back to the show, what would you say were some things about that experience that people maybe wouldn't have known from the outside? Or what were some kind of surprising behind the scenes things?
Yeah, I mean, the real drama that really goes down was so much better than what was actually on TV. That was really filtered. The competition is very real. It's very backstabbing. You have to look out for yourself. It's essentially make your enemies number one friend, because they will take advantage of you. I mean, it's really surprising what a Wild West world of real estate it is.
Yeah.
And you can't be too nice. You can't let your guard down with anyone. But like you said, you do need to have respect with other agents. We do deals together all the time. You don't have to be best friends with them, but you do need to create a relationship with them, so that if you do have to show their property and you're writing an offer, that you guys can work together. You don't want to burn bridges either. So it's a real delicate dance of doing that, but more so in California than I saw in Vegas, and it may have changed now in Vegas more. You rely on your fellow agent, even though they are your competition. You're sharing information. Pocket listings are such a huge part of our business and our industry. And if you don't have a relationship with that person, you're not going to find out about their pocket listings, and vice versa. And that's how we all make money. And we need to be able to share information, but also in those instances, you need to make sure that you're not giving away a listing that you don't have signed yet, because that person might go and swoop it under your feet. So you have to be very smart. It's like playing poker.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. It's like holding your cards, and kind of like, obviously you're at the table, you're playing with these other people. You got to be able to play the game, but without letting go of all your interests and protecting your clients.
I'm from Vegas. I did not get into gambling. I don't know how to play poker, but I think I'm one of the best poker players when it comes to real estate. And I had to learn that very quickly. But yeah, it's a really interesting industry in that sense. But having a strong real estate community, making sure that you've got the top 5 real estate agents in the areas that you sell on speed dial, and that you can call them for anything, is important. But again, you don't have to be best friends with them.
Yeah. I'd love to jump back into your younger years.
Yeah.
I really want to get an inside look at who Heather was when she was itty bitty.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your personality from as early as you can remember, and those kind of younger developing years?
Yeah, completely. I am the oldest out of my brother and I. We're 6 years apart. And then my 3 cousins lived across the street from me later. And so they were like my sisters. I was, the typical older sister, beating up on my brother, beating up on my cousins. I was bossy as can be. I was competitive. I love sports. I always played on the boys' teams. My best friend was a boy.
Which team?
Soccer,
Nice.
baseball a little bit, but soccer was my sport. And my best friend was a boy. So I always wanted to play on his team. Hence maybe why I work so well with Josh and my brother-in-law, because I always grew up with boys and that kind of team environment. And then, my parents divorced when I was 11, and we moved to a totally new neighborhood. And that's kind of when that shy, quiet kid kicked in, going to a new middle school where I didn't know anyone. And middle school was so tough, and you're going through puberty.
Yeah.
And my dad moved out of state, and I have a new stepdad. And I just went through this dark kind of gothic period. I wore black MAC lipstick, and I was super, super quiet. But I was very studious. I was all about my academics. I loved to study. I loved to do projects. I would do my brother's homework for him because he hated homework. My parents were working really hard to launch their business. So my mom wouldn't come home until 10 o'clock at night. So I was the responsible one to make sure we were doing our homework and making dinner and everything and getting everything going. And, as I got through middle school, again, it wasn't a dark period by any means, but it was a challenge for me. And I had great friends by 7th grade, but I was still very quiet.
Yeah.
Did not blossom at all until, oh my gosh, almost sophomore year. I mean, I was the awkward kid. I had bad acne. I had cystic acne, all those difficult things that, kids go through. Yeah. And I definitely experienced that. Thankfully, my mom put me on Accutane and I cleared up my skin. And funny enough, I spent a summer with my aunt in California. She lived in Laguna Beach, and I convinced my mom not to make me move back to Vegas because she moved again. And I was having to start at a new high school, and I was like, I cannot do that again, Mom. It was just already so hard going through middle school like that. But I met these group of girls on Sleepy Hollow Beach in Laguna Beach under a lifeguard stand. And I fell in love with a lifeguard, and I was finally like blossoming into my own. And I created this new kind of identity for myself. And so my mom let me enroll and go to Laguna Beach High School and live with my aunt for the first semester of sophomore year. Wow. And it was amazing. And I really saw this new confidence come out. I kind of grew into a new woman. I had my glow up finally, like the acne was still there, but it was a little better. I finally grew my boobs finally, which was so exciting. I could wear a bra, not a training bra anymore, like all the other girls were wearing at school and PE. Oh, that was awful. Freshman year. Gosh, thinking back to all those memories.
Well, it's all those little moments where you're like in there and you're changing and you're like, oh, they're all going to see my little training bra.
Yeah.
Just change my shirt really fast.
Exactly. Gosh, I haven't thought about those days in
no one
so
talks
long.
about it.
No, not at all. And I didn't have a boyfriend. I didn't talk to boys really. I was very shy and quiet. And then I got homesick, and I was like, Mom, can I come back home? Can you please figure out how to get me to go to the high school where all my middle school friends went? She figured it out. I moved back, started second semester, sophomore high school at the high school with all my friends. And everyone was like, whoa, Heather grew up. And, but I was still shy and quiet. I'm still me, but I had a little bit more confidence, and I felt good because I put myself in a new setting where I had to make friends again and, really put myself out there. And so I started to get used to that and learn how to create conversation with people and be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation and be okay with silence when I'm sitting with new people. And also just, I was a sponge at that time and still am. But it took a minute. And, I think high school was still very tough. Yeah. It's not easy. It wasn't easy I'm sure it's hard for boys too, but for a girl in high school, it's just really difficult. Yeah. And I wish it wasn't like that. Yeah. And I worry with my daughter, I already see it. She's in 3rd grade, and there's, all the drama happening by 2nd grade that we've dealt with. And so it's starting even earlier and earlier. And I'm trying to help arm her with confidence to speak up for herself, stand up for herself, where I didn't do that for myself. I didn't know how to do that. Yeah. Because my parents were always like, just be nice and it's okay. Don't speak up. You don't want to start a fight, which is a good thing, but also you need to learn when the right time is to speak up for yourself and advocate for yourself. And I didn't have those techniques taught to me. I didn't know how to do that. And so I really struggled with that for a long time, even as a young adult. I don't think I really understood how to advocate for myself until I was about 27, 28. And even then, really until I was about 32, once I became a mom, did I really like, okay, I need to take care of my baby. What do I need to do? And that was a really hard thing that I wish I would have learned much earlier on. But all those hard, awkward teenage years shaped who I am today and gave me great learning lessons. But the one thing that I wish I would have known then is just to speak up for yourself and know that everyone's going through it. You're not the only person going through the awkwardness. You're not the only person whose parents got divorced and you're in a new school. Everyone's dealing with something. Yeah. No one's life is perfect. And as shiny and pretty as they are on the outside or now from social media, what you're seeing as a young kid, it's not really what their life is like. And you should be happy and confident and find the positive things about yourself and, tell yourself daily, I am a good person. Yeah. I have good friends. I have a good family. And just those positive affirmations really make a difference if you can do that for yourself.
Heather, I think it's so refreshing for you to share that point about when you really felt confident in yourself or the ability to kind of like stand up and own who you are, that it was in your late 20s and early 30s. Yeah. And I think these conversations, that's really at the heart of our mission, right? Mm-hmm. That it's like, okay, you have this polished, beautiful, professional, successful woman sitting across from me in the chair week to week. But every single one of these women had stuff, in their early childhood, in their teen years. Yeah. And that it's a journey for every single one of us. And our mission is just to step in and illuminate that it's like, the number one most important thing, we can't fix the awkwardness. We can't fix it. It's going to be there and it's actually developmental, but we can fix the loneliness, and realize that like this thing that you're experiencing, you're not the only one. There's actually probably a word for it. And hundreds of thousands of women have gone through the same thing and come out okay. And I just visualizing you at 11, already 11 is when it kind of starts, girls' bodies are starting to change and we're suddenly aware of boys and school looks a little bit different. And there's all these like inner changes that are kind of happening without us even expecting or asking for them. Yes. Later, like as we get older, it's like we're asking for the changes, we're like, we're ready. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do this. I'm going to redefine myself. But, that like 11, 12, 13, it's like, you might not even feel ready, but the changes start. Yeah. But then to also have these changes going on within your home and your parents changing settings and marriage and all of this, it must have been super tumultuous.
Yeah, but everyone goes through it, It might be a little different for each person, but life isn't perfect for anyone. Yeah. And once you understand that and don't pity yourself, I think that's also something where if you tell yourself you're a victim, right, you're going to have that victim mentality for a very long time. And it's hard to get out of that. So again, just persevering, survival is key. Yeah. And, making sure you have a good group of friends around you or support system. If there's someone that's being mean to you and just not supportive, cut them out of your life. You don't need that, and it took time to figure that out. And I was doing it as a child and I didn't even realize it. Yeah. But I think that's so important. And it's not easy. It's not easy being a kid and being a woman and the expectations that we all put on ourselves and put on each other. It's tough, but at the end of the day, you're only doing the best you can. Yeah. And as long as you're showing up for yourself and your family or whoever it might be, that's all you can expect of yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think there's such importance too, to be able to have like that moment when you went to Laguna, right? Mm-hmm. That even if those earlier years you're noticing things are getting difficult, relationships at school are getting more complicated, you're going to have at some point an opportunity to step out and kind of check in and redefine yourself, right? And make some shifts. Like if you're feeling like, oh, everybody in my school has classified me as this, this, and this, so I guess I have to be that way forever. It won't be forever. And it'll show up in different ways. Sometimes maybe it'll be going to college, or some people, maybe it's moving states, or there are these opportunities that kind of show up where you can look in the mirror and say like, all right, what do I want to try that's different? Can I try on a new identity or find a different part of myself and see how it fits? And maybe it doesn't stick forever, but the importance of those moments where it's like, you're in the driver's seat of your life. And, there are going to be things that you don't like and that you have to throw out and try something new, and maybe it works or it doesn't.
You're 100% onto it. You have to try. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. You just try something new. I think people are constantly evolving. Yeah. And even now at 41, I feel like I'm different than what I was when I was 38. Like there's just these new things where I'm like, okay, I feel like I don't need to do that anymore. And that's okay. I don't need to commit to that. This is the new me. I don't need to go out every single night and socialize every night, or I want to go to bed at 9:30 at night. And I don't care if I'm missing out on the best party ever. Yeah. I'm constantly evolving. I have now realized that I don't need to have that role of influencer over my head where I always felt like I had to be posting. I took a break for a little bit. I'm still posting, but the expectation of, oh my gosh, I have to post today. I need to put this out there. I need to do this branding for this partnership that I want to get. It was so much pressure and stress on myself. And I've learned that wasn't good for me internally. And it was bleeding into my kids' lives also, because then I wasn't always happy. I just felt very wound up. And I was like, okay, I need to reanalyze what's important right now. What can I handle? What kind of change do I need right now? And change is good ultimately. It always ends up being good. It's difficult, but it's good. And, one day you're one person, the next day you might be a different person. That's okay. Yeah.
It sounds like you've done a really good job of distinguishing expectations that maybe the world has created, especially being a person that's on a TV show for an extended period of time. There's going to be expectations that the world just decides for you, right? Yeah. And then we have our inner expectations, which also change, and we have to shed some and change some, or be surprised by new ones, and figuring out how to kind of like cut through what's not real. Yeah. And decide for yourself.
Exactly. All the things. Yeah. All the things. It's so fun though.
Yeah. Well, we always like to round out our show with the same question, and I'd love for you to answer it. What is one quality or personality trait that you had as a young girl that maybe you didn't appreciate then, that looking back on, you really cherish and love?
Good question. I think that that's really interesting. The one thing I can say is my friends that I grew up with since middle school to this day still say I'm the same person. I'm still that sweet Heather that is not affected. A lot of times people think, oh, she's going to be so different now that she's on TV or she's had the success that she's had, that I'm going to, be that typical reality star or something like that. And just think too high of myself. I am still that grounded kid that I know where I came from. I'm humble. I am appreciative, and I still have no problem doing the grunt work that all my assistants do. I go into a listing and I pick up dog poop for my sellers because I want the house to look right. I'm just I'm not too good for anything. And I think that has really highlighted my success, and also just fully encompasses who I am as a person. I don't take myself too serious. We're all people at the end of the day. So, I believe that was a great trait that my parents instilled in us.
I love it. Well, this has been such a treat. I have loved sitting down with you and getting like this inside look at not only your world right now and what it looks like from the outside, but what it's functioning like on the inside, and all the shifts and changes that have happened along the way, but also younger Heather and how that's informed the woman you are today. So thank you so much, Heather. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Asha. Appreciate it. It was fun.
So fun.
And that's our show. If you liked what you heard today, please like, subscribe to, follow, and share Meet Bridget with your circle. The best way to help our work here is to rate and review our podcast. We're listening and constantly working to build something helpful for you. Catch you next time.
Bring it on, baby.